all love Jeff the Shark. Okay, well, maybe not all of us. But if you're wanting to play Jeff because he's adorable, here's how to play him properly and not get yelled at by your team for being a bad support player. As a support hero, you should be focused on making sure your teammates are topped off and healed as much as possible. Hopefully your team has another support hero to help alleviate the amount of healing you have to do on your own. Jeff's healing output is good, but it's not good enough to be the solo support hero on your team. Jeff's main fire mode is his healing stream of water called Joyful Splash. It can heal your teammates for 140 HP per second and can fire 100 rounds in one stream before Jeff has to reload. Splash can reach pretty far out, so you'll be able to heal teammates that seem out of reach, and even giving them just a tiny bit of the stream will be good enough to help them stay alive a little bit longer. Just keep in mind that when your teammates are really low, your reload and delay in the water stream reaching them will take a good 2 to 3 seconds, which can really add up. Luckily, if you need a big burst of healing, Jeff's E ability, Healing Bubble, will grant your teammates 85 health immediately. You get 6 bubbles and each bubble takes 6 seconds to recharge. This is one of 2 ways you can heal yourself, so don't spam bubbles every chance you get. Use the bubbles as a way to enhance your healing abilities in really difficult situations. Jeff's bubble will give teammates an extra 15% healing boost when you're able to splash them with your normal healing mode. So if a teammate is really low, toss them a bubble and follow up with your main splash. The bubbles will also grant teammates a 60% movement boost, which I recommend using at the start of matches or to get to point faster if you need to touch the objective. The buffs Jeff's bubbles grant will last 4 seconds, and when teammates touch the bubbles, nearby enemies will get knocked back. If you toss a bubble between teammates, all teammates who are within the bubble's small range will get the buffs as well. So when everyone is bunched up at the start of rounds, popping a bubble to increase movement speed to get the objective is a good rule. Jeff's alternate fire is Aqua Burst, his damage ability. This is almost like a grenade launcher in the way Jeff fires. It's a slower firing attack that can deal 24 damage per hit, and Jeff can spit these water bursts at a rate of 1.75 rounds per second. He can fire up to 12 rounds before he has to reload. The burst shots can hit enemies directly for max damage, or they can be shot near enemies and there will be a small area of effect that will deal damage to enemies close by. It'll be about half the damage, but it's really good for helping teammates follow up with better damage. Just be aware of Jeff's reload time here, as well as those 3 to 4 seconds of you being vulnerable, which can make or break certain situations. Jeff's greatest strength is that he's little and can get away from fights pretty easily if he can serpentine while using his shift ability, Hide and Seek. His hitbox is tiny, so when he's under the ground, you can avoid a lot of damage and heal at the same time. Jeff will heal 35 health per second, so this will come in especially clutch when you're low health and you're the only one on point. Since there really isn't a cooldown to his shift ability, you can use this whenever you want. When Jeff is below 50% health, he'll actually take less damage from critical hits. This is his one passive that, when paired with his shift ability, can really increase his survivability when solo.
Because Jeff is very hard to hit when you can.
Spider-Man's in our backline.
Oh my god! Please help me, where are you guys?
Run away, Stella. Just run away.
Now, Jeff's ultimate, It's Jeff, burrows him underground and lets him target a large space of ground to swallow enemies and allies. Allies will heal for 225 HP per second, and enemies will take 25 points of damage per second, and the whole ultimate lasts for 6 seconds. During this time, you can choose to spit on enemies or allies at any point. If you're on a map that has an out-of-bounds area like a cliff, it's good to spit out your enemies downwards to ensure none of them can float back up, especially if they're a character with grapples or flying abilities. If you know for a fact that you swallowed enemies who can fly and you can't throw them overboard, you can throw yourself off the map to ensure the kills. However, throwing yourself off the map isn't recommended with your ultimate unless you have 4 or more enemies in your mouth. The sacrifice for getting 2 kills and your team being left minus a healer isn't worth it. The better way to utilize the ultimate at that point is to throw the enemies into a corner and spam your damage attack and have your team focus those enemies with you. Another tactic for your ultimate is if you swallow enemies close to your spawn location, you can actually swim back to the spawn and it'll automatically kill the enemies since they aren't programmed to enter that spawn room. Jeff's ultimate can really make or break an objective hold for your team, since he can spit out teammates he's swallowed so they can hold the point while he takes the enemies farther away, buying you time. If you want to be more of an aggressive Jeff player, I'd recommend asking for a Luna Snow team up. The team-up ability with Luna gives Jeff an extra ability, Frozen Spitball, to spew ice-infused damage bursts that have buffed damage. Jeff's secondary fire mode will explode in an area of effect still, but with the ice infusion, this attack will slow enemies by 15% for 3 seconds. The best aspect of this ice infusion is that there is no damage fall-off. Jeff's secondary fire on its own will have a normal damage fall-off the farther an enemy is, but with Luna's damage modifier applied, you'll hit enemies no matter the distance for the same boosted damage rate of 30 FPS. After activating Frozen Spitball, Jeff will have 10 seconds to shoot his secondary Fire Splash before waiting a 30-second cooldown to activate again. Lucky for you, the cooldown starts as soon as the ability is activated, so you really only have to wait 20 seconds. This team-up is great for upping DPS, but I personally really love the Jeff and Groot team-up called New Friends. This allows Jeff to ride on Groot and both players will get a 35% damage reduction. This doesn't sound like much, but it's a huge buff to your Groot tank. You're also able to keep yourself and Groot alive for so much longer because your bubble will automatically apply to you and Groot. You're able to spray down and heal Groot constantly while it takes massive damage, and if you use your bubble before spraying, you can keep him alive endlessly. You two can basically stay alive forever with this team up. You can still use your Aqua Burst fire mode and help Groot kill enemies too, and your kills and assists will be astronomical if you play together. This has made huge breakthroughs in holding the objectives, and it's been incredibly useful in difficult pushes. I've had a few matches where I had a Groot and a Luna on my team, so I was able to activate my Frozen Spitball on top of Groot and do extra damage. The only downside to being on Groot is that your teammate may not always be aware of who needs healing around them, so you may need to hop off his back to go heal others. This is also when having an additional healer helps. Be aware though that if Groot gets stunned or uses his ultimate, you'll get knocked off his shoulders abruptly. When this happens, hopefully you're paying attention and you can either dive into the ground or you can immediately dive back onto Groot's shoulders. The distance is pretty generous for Jeff's jump ability to get back on Groot, so you should be able to attach back pretty quickly. So to go over Jeff's strategies again, maintain healing on your team, but don't be afraid to spit at the enemy too. Your DPS can help a lot since it's got burst damage, but also remember that your main objective is to keep your teammates alive like any good support hero. If people on your team are about to be very much not alive, throw them a bubble and spray the shit out of them since you'll get that boosted heal rate. If you need to get away fast and get some health back, dive underground, hit your bubble ability, then dive back down so you get faster healing and movement to escape as well. That's going to be a lifesaver when you're really hurting and one of the last people on point. Let me know if I missed any other tips, but hopefully this helps you be the bestest land shark puppy support player.